right, what's up, everybody? It is March 26th. We are Gym Therapy Inc. Today we have with us
Trista?
Alyssa.
Alyssa.
Your name's Alyssa.
Well,
I know.
You're going
And
down the line.
We have a special guest, AnneMarie Everett. AnneMarie is running for district judge.
Yes.
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 She has been an Indiana native, AP graduate, Duquesne Law School, Rotary president, United Way board, decade of legal experience, and 5 years as a public defender, and good person.
Thank you.
Thank you. I met you about 2 years ago, and it's been a good ride since.
Yeah, through Rotary. You joined Rotary with us, and you've been doing a great job with us. So we really appreciate you joining.
Good. Today we're going to talk about for acts of service. We're going to talk about community work and just kind of what being a good person does for our mental health. But first, we are brought to you this week by ServPro of Indiana. ServPro of Indiana is, we do emergency fire water damage cleanup. We do range hoods. We clean carpets. We clean couches, vents, any of that sort of stuff. ServPro has a 148 response role. We'll be on scene within an hour. We'll be setting up equipment within 4 hours, and within 8 hours, we'll have a plan for you moving forward. And we also have 24 hours emergency response, board up and property securing, temporary fencing, moving and storage. We can temporarily supply your home or business with power and set you up with some packing supplies. And best thing is, you get me, I'll be there too. So.
I'm going to work with Steve and let him know that you need to have it memorized.
I know. It's a nerves thing. I'm already getting the mingle sweats today.
I know all about those too, actually.
I couldn't help it. I was at, kind of recap our week, I was at a 40th birthday party last night. All my friends since childhood. The anxiety sweats, just all over. And then 2 hours in, I was completely fine.
Which is weird, because I feel like it's worse for him with anxiety sweats around people he knows than in a room full of strangers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As a kid, I'd go on vacation, as a young adult, and I'd be in Ocean City, and I would have a completely different personality than what up here. I was around people I didn't know, but for some reason, those guys too, Gene Doobie, 40th birthday, Jeremy Doobie, 40th birthday today, the Doobie brothers, great guys. They're Gene, not their wife. They don't share a wife. But, Gene's wife is incredible. She set up a cruise for us this year. She set up an Airbnb party in our hometown last night. She's that glue that holds everybody together.
She's great.
There was 10 of us in their wedding that are all, I want to say, know each other for at least 20 years. It's awesome. She kind of holds everybody together.
Your job is to not let her burn out. Because if you guys just keep relying on her to do it all the time, she'll eventually get burnt out. You know, that emotional labor thing we talked about? So someone else needs to help.
Or she's just not going to want to do it.
She loves it. She does HR for Gordon Food Services. She's constantly in front of people. She plans trips all the time. I'm just going to lean on her until she breaks.
Oh, cool.
Wow. That's good. That's good.
I'm glad that we taught you something about emotional labor. Sorry, Lydia. So let's talk about our weeks. So I guess I'll go first.
Yeah, there you go.
My week went really well. The gym, we retested Wannet maxes for our athletes. So we got to try our personal best on different lifts, and we tested benchmark workouts we've done maybe a year or so prior. And it's so cool to see the growth, not only in the progress being made in the gym, but just watching people's confidence in themselves change, and then seeing that expand as out of the gym into trying new jobs. Liz is a good example. Building confidence inside the gym, people supporting you, people talking you up, and then you take that and then you go into the next phase of your life. Hey, I think I can change my career. I mean, Alyssa started working, not as a bad thing, but started at Fox's Pizza. Mm-hmm. And now she is at a job where she's making probably 3 times that salary. Oh, yeah. And it's just watching people, having that support system helps you grow. And I just saw on CrossFit.com today, I'm going to repost it on the gym's page, but it said, this is why we measure results and seeing the growth in progress being made. So I thought that was really cool. Next weekend for me is my age qualifier. So I get to do the age qualifiers, which is cool because I ripped my hand open. So I'm excited for that.
You're doing that here, though? You're going to do that at your gym?
Yeah, it's going to be at the gym. I think they're sneakily setting up some things so people come watch me do the workout. I'm just, I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah. But I have a massage with Riley at the Healing Tree on Friday at 5:30, and I'm not changing that. So that's happening.
I wouldn't
We're gonna
change
work around that schedule.
Good.
What about you, Liz? How was your week?
Well, the end of last week was the end of probably like 120-hour pay period, I guess.
Good.
First, I've never, I don't even think from when I started getting a job, even prior to being a drug addict or whatever, I'd never worked more than 40 hours, 45 hours a week. So the job that I just quit and resigned from, now I was working 27 to 30 hours a week, and that was considered full time. So now I'm doubling that through 1 week at one place, not traveling all over the place.
It's nice to have a little bit more uniform.
It is,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And the same as like, a gym family that I became a part of, now have a work family. And these people don't come to work just because they want the paycheck. They care about these kids. And I care about the kids as well. I don't know if you know, I work at Cove Prep. It's out at Torrance State Hospital. It's the juvenile kids.
Okay.
And it's great. I'm getting to learn a whole new generation that I didn't know anything about. My kid's 12, and I don't know anything about her generation at all.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't like to relate that to this, but like I don't know anything about kids,
Yeah.
and definitely learning, the way they look at social media and the way that it impacts their lives, and having single parents. And I mean, I could get into a whole spiel of things, but all in all, the last 2 weeks, they've been great.
Yeah,
Good.
you're gonna learn a lot. It's gonna be great because you have your home family, you have your gym family, now you have your work family, and you kind of got to navigate all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And went and looked at an apartment.
Ooh,
2
yeah.
days ago.
Yeah, good for you.
It is so big. It's actually, speaking of kids, it's like it's a remodeled daycare. So I'm terrible at measurements, but there's this really long hallway that has kids' handprints all over them.
That would be a great Halloween party place.
Yes. Whenever I saw it, I didn't think any of that.
Oh yeah.
Whenever I saw it, I'm like, this is so cute. But then there's another hallway that has like silhouettes of kids. They I don't know if they painted their shadow or what it was. Okay, that was also cute. But it can also be very, very weird.
We could also paint, probably.
Yeah. Oh no, we can definitely paint. But the whole thing, it's one floor, 3,000 square feet, which is huge.
Yep.
So, and the price is great. Utilities included, all that great stuff. So,
close to work, right?
Oh yeah, 15 minutes. Yeah. Right now it's like 33 minutes from here.
Yeah. AnneMarie, what's going
on?
Well, I guess for people who don't know me, I'm a lawyer.
Yes.
So I have my own law firm, and I had a pretty busy week, as I usually do. Started out with finishing up a custody trial in Armstrong County. So kind of like we had a full day, and then so that was like first thing Monday morning was like launching back into a hearing that I hadn't been in in a month and a half, and trying to recalibrate to that. And then most of the rest of the week, I've just been trying to, manage my workload and then deal with campaign stuff, which, we kind of talked to you mentioned at the beginning, which your like anxiety sweats.
I know.
So that's like, this whole week is me trying to kind of manage my stress and anxiety with, managing my business and this campaign, and making sure I'm out there and doing everything I can to, at least be competitive in this campaign, because, I feel like at times I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm behind the 8 ball on this. I haven't been able to get out there and do that, but I'm just trying. I'm like, okay, I just got to do what I can do, control what I can control.
Yes.
And I have to make sure that, I'm doing what I need to do for my business and my clients. And then also make sure that I'm managing my time and getting out there and doing campaign stuff. So that's basically been my week, is just trying to
to balance your family. You also have a family.
I do.
Right?
I do. And I shouldn't neglect to say that. I mean, I'm a little bit lucky. My kids are grown and they're out of the house. So they both live in Pittsburgh. So, my husband is like helping me tremendously with this. Like today,
that's great.
We left breakfast, and because the windstorm yesterday, and like the night
I
patties.
had to go down and pick up stuff in the yard.
Right. So he's like, we saw all kinds of my signs that were kind of like twisted, and so he's like, well, I'm going to go around and just fix all the signs.
That's
so
awesome.
that was really sweet.
And IU patties, you're right.
And IU patties. And so that was that was basically my week. Is just been get up in the morning, go to work, and then I'm immediately leaving and dealing with campaign stuff.
It's how do you sleep at night?
I
do you remember?
don't.
I know, right? Yeah.
I don't. I did. Yeah, I've been struggling with that, so I'm trying different techniques to try and help me sleep. I downloaded an app that will like talk to you, like almost like a hypnotic thing.
I love those.
Yeah.
And that works. But then when it shuts off, I wake up. So
Yeah, I'll listen to stuff, and as I know when I start to get irritated because I'll be almost asleep and then something will wake me up. I know it's time. Take them off, and then it's still 15, 20 minutes after that that I'm actually asleep. And
Yes.
my watch just tells me basically I don't sleep.
Right.
If I sleep for 8 hours, I'll get like 5.5 hours of sleep, like an hour deep, and then the rest of it's all.
Like I physically cannot get 8 hours of sleep because I'm up at 4 and we're like in bed at 8:30. Maybe asleep by 9, so I don't have 8 hours of sleep. But when I sleep hard.
Oh, me too.
I have to get up to like pee throughout the night because I'm old, and I didn't know I was
Oh,
gonna be
God.
here this soon. You know what I mean? So that's frustrating. And everyone says like listen to stuff like with water and like waterfalls. No, I can't.
No,
I'll get up like 800 times a night
Yeah.
to pee. So I'm looking for different apps too because I listen to certain meditation.
The one I use is
sleep.
called Better
Yeah.
Sleep, but I don't wake up at all all night long. I go to bed and I wake up in the same spot I fell asleep.
You never working 60 hours. That's
I slept for 16 hours.
16 hours.
Yes,
Yeah.
not straight. Woke up a couple of times and got repositioned, fell back asleep. But yep, 16 hours.
Yeah.
I want to be a back sleeper because of hip and back pain as you get old too. And I try so hard, and then I wake myself up snoring, and I'm like, "Am I dying?" Like I feel it happening, like the vocalization, and I wake up scared. So then I go back to stomach sleeping because that's just how I.
Do an acts of service for the community, and it creates a sense of belonging and reduces isolation. And I think that's one thing you talked about before was the power of inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And
Talked about that a lot.
yeah, and
Yeah.
we've already talked about this morning like different types of families, different types of relationships you have, and working. I never thought Rotary was what it was. We have such a nice little group of people, like a nice
Yeah.
little family there. Sam Kenley just took a position as on the Indiana County Borough, and he's going to be moving away from Rotary and Kenley Insurance, but in with the county. And he gave a really heartfelt speech the other day about how much he liked our group and how much it's a good.
It's nice to hear those kind of things. Like when you're a part of something, it's nice to hear those words. Like, well, we have this great group, and this is why. It's because you're here and you do this, and it's because you're here and you do this. It's nice to hear that.
And there's so much stuff that's overlapping. There's so many people that come to your gym that we work with from ServPro, and then ServPro works with Rotary, and then you're on the United Way, and we work with United Way, and we worked with United Way last week with the Alice Paul House. And one thing I think we all are trying to do is we have a billion different resources in Indiana. We don't lack on that. We just lack on bringing everybody together to move towards one common goal.
And sadly, the funding that goes with
yeah.
it. That's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
You know, we worked with a youth group, and they're like, we don't have funding for any longer, and that was hard to hear because these kids were really doing great in the program, but they didn't have the funding to continue doing it.
And
so
it's nothing. The
it's-
amount of
yes.
money they need to do that is nothing.
Yeah, I hear
Yes.
that a lot of
Literally.
times. You know, where I work too, the kids aren't finished with the program. They're like, "Yeah, I'm aging out," and I didn't know what that meant obviously until it started. Getting to know the kids. You're like, "Well, I haven't finished my program, but I'm turning 20, so I can't stay any longer."
What do they do after that?
There's an Act 21 program, which is for 21 and over, but I don't know, probably 60% of the kids that we currently have now don't need another however many years. There are a good 40% of them that do, but they're not just Pennsylvania kids. Texas, Arizona, Tennessee, Alaska, Hawaii. Not
Holy crap,
not
man.
currently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
Wow.
currently, but we have had Alaska kids, Hawaii kids, California, all that stuff. But they turn 20 years old, you gotta go.
Yeah.
You gotta go.
What are we working on, AnneMarie?
For Rotary,
Yeah.
we are. I think right now our next thing is Flags for Heroes that's
Yes.
coming up.
Mm.
So, yeah, we've got that. I think we just had that night of the races, which was like
Yes.
super great night, a great fundraiser. I think we made a lot of money. So if you're looking at funding, you know, that's some of these small organizations like Rotary, and then there's quota. There's a couple other of these organizations that raise money that are looking to fund like little smaller projects like that, because
Yeah.
we don't have, the larger organizations like the United Way, or they raise a lot more. They have the ability and the framework to raise a lot more money. The smaller organizations are able to fill in these littler gaps, these smaller gaps.
Mhm.
So I would definitely encourage you to ask that youth group to see if they want to apply for any grants for
Ooh,
That'd be
through
great.
that's a good
through
idea.
those
See,
organizations.
this is why we have to bring in other people.
It
because
really
Justin
is.
doesn't
Right.
tell us.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
and you and listen, it took me a couple years in Rotary before I really understood
Yeah.
like what we were trying to accomplish and how
Yeah.
this all worked. And so yeah, so now it's like I've been in it for I think 7 or 8 years, and just hey, if I hear something, I'm like, yeah, hey, just ask us. We've got a grant application. Ask us for money. We're going to be giving out money, and for a lot of times we try and spread it out, but we'll, give smaller grants like $1,000, $2,000 to something that we all think fits in within our mission, and we want basically that we think is a good
Yeah,
fit
absolutely.
and serves a purpose in the
Yeah,
community.
I didn't. My first year there too, I was just trying to get a feel for it. I mean, I grew up in Mahaffey. We didn't have Rotaries in Mahaffey. We talked about doing some stuff out at Purchase Line too last week with Rotary, and I think it's really good to get some young people into the business world, the local business world. And I didn't want to ask for a grant. I felt like it was just like I wasn't sure, but now I know that we are onto something. We're doing good work with other 501s, and I think it's time for us to start asking, like hitting the community up for it, and start making
Yeah.
different things. I don't care. I know I mean, in Mahaffey we had bake sales. That's how we made money. It was bake sales. But we can do anything like that. We're gonna start selling T-shirts. These are the ones from last time, but I'll put some mock-ups. We're actually ready to take orders for T-shirts now, and we need to just do simple stuff like people that come on. We want to give them little gifts. We do that at Rotary. Give them gifts.
Right.
We need swag, just exercise balls, keychains, that sort of stuff, just to get the image of us out there so people can start remembering that whenever they see it. Oh, yeah, that's the gym therapy people. Another good thing we did this week too is we brought the Rooster's Nest moniker back. We were the Rooster's Nest by Gym Therapy Inc. And then when I tried to explain to people what the Rooster's Nest was, they're like, "What's a rooster have to do with any of this?" So I kind of went away with it to try to build it up a little bit. To Gym Therapy Inc. is a lot easier to follow. But now I think we have a pretty good branding, and we brought the Rooster's Nest back just to honor Leroy. And do you want to talk about Leroy a little bit?
I always want to talk
I
about
know you
Leroy.
do.
Leroy was my best friend, and I'm divorced now, but I met my husband because of Leroy. And if we could have put him in a half dress, half suit for the wedding, it would have been, because he was our absolute best friend. And he sadly passed away in a motorcycle accident in 2018, and completely just shattered our lives. And I still cry when I talk about him,
Yeah.
just because he's such a light. Like, he was a person that made everybody feel like a somebody, and he was like the world's best hugger. So anytime that like you went somewhere and you knew he was going to be there, like you literally sought him out to hug him. And it was hard. Like, the people that didn't like Leroy, which were very, like, you could count on one
Very few and
hand,
far
were just
between.
people that were jealous of him because people adored him. Like, he was just one of those people, and he was an adventurer. Like, he just decided he was gonna like pack up his car, his little VW, and go out west when he was laid off for the summer or for the winter, and travel by himself. Saw everything he wanted to see and did it alone.
That's
Because he didn't want to wait on anyone to commit to go with him. Because everyone would be like, "Yeah, we'll go," and then they never did it. He drove around. I mean, he had his toes at like the edge of a mountain in like the Grand Canyon and all these places. And of course, he
That's
didn't send us
awesome.
those pictures until the end. So when we came up with the idea of the Gym Therapy Inc., we looked at ways to honor Leroy, because he was always good. If you needed anything, he would be the first person that would just chip in. If you were like, "Hey, I need you," he would just come
He would
and
just be
do it.
there.
Yes. Yes. Any like remodeling I did on houses, anything like that, he was there for it. And he loved to demo. So if we needed anything destroyed, he was the man. Like, he called. And if you needed him to cut down trees, he would climb to the top of any tree and cut it down. So yeah, he was just one of those friends that, like, that loss lets you know that nothing's going to be the same. And in that unhealthy mindset, when someone dies, you're like, okay, it's over. This is done. I don't know how to go on in my life. you have to kind of rebrand your thoughts and understand that the best way to honor someone's life is to embrace the best things about them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we did with this group and what I've been doing. That's one of the driving factors behind my idea of community service and what I want to do, because I want everyone to know that they're important.
Mhm.
You know, no matter what their status in life is, no matter what their career is, they're important.
Yeah. Have something bad happen, don't kind of hole up on the day, the anniversary of it. Kind of step out and do something. My sister-in-law Heather, they she lost a baby, and every year on Mara's birthday, she fills out cards or has these books. What was the mother book that we handed out?
The mother of all mothers.
The mother of all mothers, and she gives them to other people and it's really helped her just cope with that sort of stuff and just to celebrate someone's life instead of just feel sad about it. I really like that.
Yeah.
I genuinely.
I remember
appreciate
sending messages in our group chat like, Pap died this many years ago today, or today's my mom's birthday, or something. And every time, no matter if I was talking about a death or a birthday, your response was, "How are you going to celebrate their life?" Every time.
And you have to eventually turn that mindset around. Like yesterday was my grandmother's birthday, and my grandma. You guys went around when my grandma passed. She was the most amazing community service woman. She was on the women's auxiliary. She did the flags on the graves for veterans. She did Toys for Tots since I was a small child. Like I remember gathering bags of toys with her. Worked at Salvation Army. If you called my grandma, it was like people would call. They had her phone number, her home phone number, and be like, "Mrs. G, we need a couch." And within like an hour, she would call and find connections, find them what they needed. And I remember one time I had bought a couch and I was moving and I didn't have room for it. And I was like, "Hey Graham, can you get rid of this couch? How much do you want for it?" Within like 10 minutes, called me back and said, "How about $50?" I was like, "Deal." And like and she was my driving factor behind community service. So it's cool that we just segued into this, because that was watching that my whole life. You know, she didn't make any money doing that.
Yeah.
She made no money, and she liked to help people.
She didn't make money, but she got payment.
Yes.
You know, and the payback.
Absolutely, yeah.
And kind of what you're talking about too is community service, but not necessarily through an organization or group, just on your own, you know, through your own actions and just doing things out there with the community, whether it be celebrating someone's life or honoring someone that's passed. You know, you don't need a group to do community service. It's great to have like-minded people together, and it helps with the isolation.
It really does.
Kind of talking about too, but you know, being able to see a need and know that I can feel that on my own without needing to have necessarily a group behind me do it is a mindset that I think is special and not always recognize like, hey, I can do this. I can help you on my own.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Yeah, and we advertise a lot of stuff when we're out doing things, but we do a lot of stuff behind the scenes too. Just simple stuff, going to help your elderly neighbor out, going to pick stuff out of their yards, going and you know
helping them carry groceries in the house.
Just anything. You don't have to volunteer for an organization and spend 8 hours of your day. If you guys ever want to volunteer just for an hour, go over to ICAP up here. ICAP always needs people to help pack lunches for kids. There's a group of people that are there very consistently. But volunteering has some benefits. It decreases your risk of depression and increases your social interaction, like we just talked about, builds a support system, and you can have a volunteer family too. That's essentially what Rotary is.
Yeah.
And if you kind of want to rebrand yourself, go find a new group of people. Just get like a little bit of a fresh start, learn some skills and opportunities and things like that from them, and then bring what you learned back into your community, to your family and whatnot, and start to change things from the
inside. And I see that with Steve. I noticed that Steve does a lot of like Pro. He does a lot of
my boss Steve.
Yes, he does a lot of customer or community service.
Yeah.
So I see him letting you go to events and do things, which is huge. And we do that at the gym. I do community service, and then I bring it back. Hey guys, we're gonna do this. Do you want to donate to this?
Yeah.
And people follow. Like good leadership, and you. Hey, these are our core values. This is what we do as a company. We help people that are in need, and we had the coat drive. Everyone from the gym brought something in. That's where a lot of our stuff came from, was gym members, and just they come in on a Saturday when we had to set up tables. They set up all the tables because that's what we do. and you set the precedent of who we are as a company, people follow. And I think that's
Yeah,
amazing.
for sure.
Absolutely,
And I think
Yeah.
now that I'm a little over a year in, people are starting to see that a little bit, and there's starting to be a little more of a compounding effect. It's starting to get bigger and bigger.
Yes.
I just remembered while you're talking, for Rotary, we're still
Mhm.
collecting shoes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. We are I did shoes with rubber soles.
Yes. Yeah.
So
So no like women's pumps or anything like that.
Right.
If you have any shoe at all, it can be 100 years old as long as it has rubber on it. We're going to
Right.
collect them and we're going to send them to an organization. I'll double check who that's for and I'll throw it on the screen.
I might have a few pairs.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
figured that's why I've been
Yeah.
driving around with 2 garbage bags full of shoes in my trunk for like the last 3 or 4 weeks. So
Are these gonna be like
Yeah.
repurposed?
Are these your own
or-
shoes?
Yes.
no,
Yes.
these are- yeah, they're gonna be
Yeah, I think
repurposed.
they're-
Well, you
I-
should go through your shoes.
I have a ton. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, smells off the entrance.
yeah, they were going to repurpose the rubber sole in them and
Okay.
use them for something, and I'm not going to remember what it was.
I know, me either. It just
That's
hit
so
me
cool.
off the top of the head.
That's
So
cool, though.
yeah,
That's great.
it's good, and you don't have to. All you have to have is old shoes. You can help just by tossing us old shoes.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have,
Right.
it's not like you have
That's
to do anything
great.
else. Yeah. So this is from the Cleveland Clinic, is what I'm reading. Oh no, this is a different one from AARP. That's perfect. let's talk about
So
that.
let's say that because I think I'm the only other person in the room that's probably eligible for AARP.
Well, we one thing we talked about is we all kind of made huge life changes in our mid 30s, about 35 years old. I switched careers. Alyssa got sober. Trista kind of like, you want to start doing this gym thing full time now,
Mhm.
and new relationships, that sort of stuff. AnneMarie Duquesne Law School at 35.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah, yeah.
that's
That
fabulous.
was.
That's awesome.
Thank you. That was, it was something I had worked. I mean, it didn't just come at age 35. That just was when I got there.
Yeah.
It was like almost a 5-year process. And I, went to undergrad at IUP. I really wasn't that serious of a student. I really just wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I changed my major like 3 or 4 times,
Yeah.
and just didn't feel real settled in it. And I left when I got out of undergrad, and I had my bachelor's. I was just working in retail. I was working as a store manager.
Yeah.
Went a couple places. My husband and I got married. We had our first child. His job took us to Poughkeepsie, New York, which is like on the Hudson going north of New York City. It was a good job. He had a really good job. We were able to buy a house there, and the kids were kind of like, they were still pretty young, and we decided to move back to Indiana because his job could be remote. We wanted to raise the kids here in Indiana. So during that time in New York, I was kind of struggling with, I didn't really want to stay in retail. It was a lot of time, a lot of hours, and just I knew it wasn't where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I did feel like I wanted to help people, and but I wanted to do it in a much more substantial way.
Yeah.
So I went to paralegal school. Marist University was across the street from our house, essentially. And so I went to paralegal school for 2 years at Marist, got my paralegal certificate. And then we moved back here. I worked as a paralegal here, was taking LSAT classes. So that started, I think, in it was after 9/11, because quite honestly, we were up there and we were very close to New York City.
Oh, wow.
So 9/11 happened, and it was really close to us.
Yeah.
Our neighbor was a firefighter. He was down there for the whole, for months after.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I remember I was still in retail whenever 9/11 happened. So this would have been 2002, 2004 that I did my paralegal certificate. And I just always liked the law, and I got my paralegal certificate. I came here to Indiana to work in a law firm, and I'm like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, I can do this. There's no
Yeah.
reason why I can't
Mhm.
do this. I just didn't think I was smart enough. I just didn't think I had the resources to do it. And my husband was incredibly supportive and got me into LSAT classes, took the LSAT. I got a score that was, good enough to get myself into law school. So we decided to go ahead and do it. And it was a
Mhm.
huge sacrifice for him because he was now like having to run the kids everywhere. I went to school at night. It was 4 years. I thought about quitting.
Several
Probably
times.
every
Sure.
day.
Every night
Every
when you're
night.
trying to fall
Every
asleep.
night I'm like, what am I doing? We spent a ton of money, on the school, on driving back and forth, on, I was always eating out all the books, everything. And I just, I found this great group of people in law school that were all kind of similar, like age wise, and they were all there, kind of going back to school, and that's where the night program is a little bit different than the day program. It's not just these. Typically, the people in the night program are your, they're a little bit older. They're already in their career, or they're changing their career too. So it was a lot of similar people, and I found a group that was really able to support me, and we got through it together. And I came back, and I still think that I don't know really what I was thinking, but I did it, and now I'm like, I couldn't fathom doing anything else.
Yeah,
That's
like,
awesome.
This is what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
And you just got to find it, and you just got to put your head down, and you just got to do the work, and it'll come.
Isn't it great whenever you get those like signs? I call them like pings from the universe, saying like, "This is where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
This is what you're supposed to be doing," and then you find like you have that like sense of relief. You're like, "Oh, thank God, I knew it."
Yeah. Whenever I hear somebody that's successful say something that is in the same line of what I'm thinking, it's I don't like get jealous like anymore. Like, I wish I could do it. It's like, oh no, I can do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think the same way.
Yep.
And I don't think I would have been successful at this if I had gone right after college. I was not mature enough.
Yeah.
I did not have my stuff together. So I was not mentally prepared to do it, and I didn't think I had the confidence. I didn't have the confidence.
Did you even think about doing it then, though?
I did. But I just kind of dismissed it. Like, I can't. No, I could never do it.
We give we give kids a lot of crap for not having their life together at 22. And I don't know anybody that has their life together at 40.
Right.
And I know that early settlement, whatnot, you had 12-year-olds in the coal mine, and we definitely can't have 12-year-olds in the coal mine. You can't have 30-year-olds living in the parents' basement anymore. No offense.
You ain't
living.
At some point in there, everybody matures and develops differently.
Yep.
So at some point, you have to figure out your brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25. So how do we expect kids to pick their life? And 35 is young. At one point, you're 20, you're 15, you're 20 years old. 35 so old. Now 35, like anybody would want to be 35.
When kids I work with is like, how old are you? And I said 35. They're like, you're old. I'm like, no, I am not.
At
He's
that age,
old.
we
He's
all
45.
thought that was really old.
Yeah,
at that
and
age.
it's and this is just stuff you realize. But people want to have 30-year careers. Well, you're going to work till you're 70, probably 75 now. So you can have a 30-year career. Why not have a 20-year career at 50? What's it matter?
Well, and I want to speak on like a personal experience with AnneMarie. She, I've seen her personally, and I've had experiences with lawyers where they'll tell you what you want to hear, right? And you're like, hey, listen, this isn't what you want to hear, but this is the truth. And like the transparency, like you can tell that you care about what you do, and it's not just to make money. Like you are passionate about what you do, and you care about your clients. And I think that that's really awesome because with some attorneys, like people have kind of like car salesmen. They have sometimes have that jaded view, and it's not everyone is like that. So I think that that's you could tell that you love what you do.
Yeah, it's like the two professions you're allowed to automatically be mad at somebody. you do have to chip away.
Can you swear on this?
Yeah.
So lawyers, I call us, we're professional assholes.
Yeah.
We're trained assholes. You don't want to be an asshole, you hire us, and we'll be the asshole for you.
Yeah, but you're like, you can tell people to go to hell, but enjoy the trip.
Right. And that's like what you said. Like I say that to all my clients. Like, I'm not telling you stuff to tell you what you want to hear. You need to hear the truth. You need to know what's going to come. And I'm not doing you a service. And quite honestly, you'll be mad at me. And I'm not doing my job right if I'm not telling you the truth. And I'm just telling you something to get your business. And that it's just not worth it to me.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question. Do you feel that you're up against the wall sometimes being like a female attorney going against males? Like, do you feel like they kind of undermine you just because you're a female?
Yeah, I definitely experience that to some extent. We have a small community here. So, we all know each other and know how to work with one another. And I think I've gotten past that to some extent. But you still have the patriarchy is still alive to some extent. I think it's getting better. I do think it's getting better. And I certainly hope that a lot of what people, how they react to me and think of me is based on me and not the perception of me as a woman. But sometimes you have to earn your stripes a little bit more.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah.
I definitely, take that into consideration. I'm like, I got to work harder. I just have to work harder.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I grew up with a couple older sisters and two older brothers, and we are always open the door for women to do this sort of stuff. So that's great. But you're taught there we're a little bit different, and I can distinctly remember and like talking and like, wow, women speak just like we do. You know what I mean? I know that might sound dumb, but like people, there's just a different perception, and I'm so glad that we're starting to get to the point where everybody is just treated. We're not treated like women, men. We're starting to be treated just like people, and it's starting to get like that a little bit more. And I think we're not quite as progressive as other places are, and I'm glad that we got like three powerful women in the room to be able to represent that.
And it's like the certain fields, right? Like people think
Yeah.
of lawyers, they think of males, they think
Yeah.
of doctors, they think of males, they think of gym professionals, they think of males, and you have to break that glass ceiling, and it is unfair because you do have to work harder, and you feel like you have to prove yourself time and time and time again, and
Right.
it is breaking the stereotypes.
I'll always go back to that when we had the coat drive and that guy walked in, this big old tough dog.
Oh my!
He
Yeah.
walks in and you start talking to him because he looked like an athlete and you were the first one that approached him. He's like, "Who's the owner of this place?" And you're like, "Well, I am."
Yeah.
And he was very taken back by that.
Yeah, and he automatically started talking about
How
like,
much he could lift.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and he was like kind of talking to me too, and I'm like, buddy, I don't even know what you're
I
talking
was
about.
like, I could bench. I was like, cool, all right.
Yeah.
Nice guy, but it was so like afterwards he had to tell me how much he could lift, and I'm like, cool, okay.
Yeah.
And then we had a normal conversation after that, but he had to alpha me and let me know
Yeah.
how much
Oh,
he
yeah.
could
Right,
lift first.
right.
Yeah.
Right. I had a conversation yesterday with a state trooper, a female state trooper that I had met, and she was our Indiana barracks. They have 4 women. She was one of the 4 women at our Indiana barracks, and just really great. I had a great conversation with her. Just got to know her a little bit, and we talked a little bit about that. Like it's very much police work is very much a male dominated type of area, but it's a little bit different. It's not just. I mean, there's some physical aspects to being a police officer too, where that being a man may be a little bit more beneficial than being a woman. But I was so happy to see a female police officer putting herself out there, going through all that, and getting herself trained and working at the barracks. And I had a great conversation with
That's
her.
awesome.
That's great.
You ever want to alpha a guy, ask what he drives, and then say, "Yeah, I was thinking about getting that for my 16-year-old daughter."
I had a guy this morning at the breakfast I went to ask me, "Who do you belong to?" And the guy,
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Wow.
and the guy that was behind that was like kind of serving us knew me, and he was just like, "Oh."
Who do you belong to?
I said,
Wow.
well, I belong to myself.
Yes. That's
Jeez.
awesome.
You should just point
Was
out
he
your husband
meaning-
across the room. He belongs to me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I should have done.
You should have. Here, boy. You said about retail. I thought that was pretty interesting because retail is an act of service. And have you worked retail?
In a convenience store as a kid, like yeah.
Your job's it's a public service though at the
Because the
municipal
water
right?
authority, yes. I mean that public employee for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And that's an act of service though. That's something we all chose to do was work for other people in one way or another. And I think you can learn skills in retail that you're not going to learn anywhere else because you get some wild people. One of my first jobs was at Sears, and people would come in and they were part of the craftsman club because and they were on top of the world, and they would yell at us because they didn't get their coupons, stuff like that. Buddy, I don't control the mail. Like people threw weed eaters at us because they're broke and whatnot. You can learn a lot. I don't know. Retail is something that I think everybody should do. I think everybody should be a waiter, a waitress, or work in retail.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And not only to learn how to be like a customer service representative, for lack of better words, but to see how much work a waiter or waitress does for the very little amount of money that they make.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I think the best book ever to read if you're going to work in any kind of customer field is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Just how to people are in a high conflict situation, how to bring it down. You're still not going to give them the answer that they want, right?
Yes.
Even though they come to you and they're angry and they're yelling at you. You make them feel heard and important, but still deliver the same message that you were telling them before.
Yeah.
You know, when people call and they scream, and you acknowledge the frustration, you acknowledge what they're feeling, and I understand, but this is a rule. This is how it is, and speak people's names. It was one of the biggest things.
Yes.
Address them by name when they're screaming at you, and then they feel like important.
Mhm.
But
As an attorney too, I'm sure at some point you have to put in 16, 18-hour days doing stuff too.
At times, yeah. Yeah.
One thing I noticed is I'm not like the tortoise and the hare. I'm more the hare than I am the tortoise. Like for me to do a marathon all day long, or all day or a couple weeks or what long, that's hard for me. I'm more of a
Get it all done now.
couple hours sprint, hour rest, couple hours sprint, hour rest, and I think that people need to realize that that's something that's okay. There's so many different ways you can work. Some people are morning people, some people are night people. The point of the whole thing is just to be efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Trista, you're a 5 a.m.er. It's 4 a.m.
4 a.m.er.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I get up
You
at 4, but I had to do that too because I was going through a thing in the past couple of years where I just felt like my nervous system was constantly like revved up. Like I was constantly anxious and agitated and feeling not having enough time. So I started getting up at 4 in the morning, working out at 5, and transitioning from job to job. And I was like, I feel better. I'm tired. By Wednesday, I'm like tired. On Thursdays, I sleep in. But I found what was spiking my nervous system was feeling rushed. I am a Sagittarius to the fullest extent of a Sagittarius. I do not like to be rushed, and that's something that really stresses me. So it's something I had to figure out for myself, and it took a while to figure it all out. But I function way better getting up earlier in the morning.
You're a
I don't know.
Sagittarius.
I don't know.
I'm a Capri Sun.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's something I wanted to read from. It's actually from Indeed.com, but it's the 10 benefits of volunteering. Number 1 is it gets you out of your comfort zone.
That's number 10.
Yeah, number 10 is it gets you out of your comfort zone. But I think that's really important because we can get very stagnant just doing the same thing over and over again, and getting out of your comfort zone helps you grow a little bit.
And having conversations with people maybe in a different part of life than you are, and having sometimes even just uncomfortable conversations with people.
And I'll tell you, like, just in this campaign process, because I'm not necessarily a very outgoing person by nature, going and having, like, forcing myself out there to talk to people and walk up to people and knock on a door and talk to people is something that really I have a lot of anxiety about.
Yeah.
And like it's hard for me to get started. Once I get started and I start talking to people, like I've met some of the best people. I've had great conversations, and this is one of the parts that I'm probably enjoying the most in this process is just that, like getting out of my comfort zone. And it's just you just need to push yourself just a little bit.
Being bipolar, when I'm in the mania stage, it's perfect. It's great. I'm all over the place and doing stuff. And one thing I really learned in the last couple of years is when I'm in the lower part of it, is forcing myself to do this. The skills that I develop to even help myself when I'm mania is there's so many you get there because you think a little bit differently. You're a little bit slower, but you learn how to be just as you realize that you don't. When you're up here, you're not really. It's not that much of a gap in your personalities, but it feels like it's huge.
Feels like two different worlds.
It really does feel like it. There's two different worlds. Started doing this too. How did you feel when you just see people in public after doing videos like this?
It wasn't until the first event we did at IUP that people were like, "Hey, you're the girl from the podcast." I was like, "People are listening to this."
And like I always worry about who read what because I you know how you assimilate to different groups of people. And it's like I don't know how to act because I act like this with this person and like that with this person. And I'm like they're all gonna think I'm weird.
So that's a you thing. I don't do that.
I don't do that either.
Yeah,
that's definitely a you thing.
All right, leave me alone. All right. Number 9 is it can help you be happier. It often feels good to contribute to projects and organizations, building bonds and connections with people who volunteer with. Many volunteer opportunities also involve physical labor, which can keep you active. Do you want to talk to us about the vagus nerve? Remember, we were talking the other day when you start to lift really heavy because it kind of disrupts your central nervous system. I think that helps with like fight or flight.
Yes, it does. That and what you're talking about right now is called the happiness effect.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
that's what it is.
So with the vagus nerve, that is connects your brain to your spinal cord. Yes,
Okay.
it runs the whole way from your brain down to your spinal cord, and it is basically connects your mind and your body. It's your mind-body connection.
Okay. All right. Cool. Brings fun into your life. Many people use volunteering as a way to pursue their hobbies while making a difference. Everyone says they can't. Where do you meet women outside of the bar? Go volunteer. Go do
Yes.
something in your community. Go out in the community, like doing things like Rotary and being part of the chamber and doing that sort of stuff where
Yes.
you can actually meet people. Number 7 is provides job prospects.
Resume builder.
Resume builder, and
Yeah.
we all know that it's not what you know, it's who you know. You do have to have certifications and whatnot, but it's building up your
It really is, yeah.
building up your network.
In
Yeah.
some areas, for sure.
Yeah. Teaches you valuable skills, hands-on training and experience. For example, if you advocate and raise awareness or funding for a cause that interests you, you'll gain valuable communications, public speaking, marketing, and other hard and soft skills. You can then put these skills on your resume to show employers how you build your relationships outside of work, in addition to any personal interests that can set you apart from different candidates.
Absolutely.
Do you want to
That's
talk
right.
about your campaign trail a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, a little bit. I can. I like. What do you like? What do you want to know?
I don't know. What do you stand for? What's going on?
Okay. Well,
I know that's
Stand
just
for.
very open-ended
That's
question.
very
yes,
vague.
it
Yes.
is. It is. It is very open ended. But that's what I get a lot. You know, I get
Yes.
someone asking me that, like, well, what do you stand for?
Yeah.
Well, really, you know, my I guess my kind of platform that I'm running on is that I care about this community. Like, I've been here all my life for the most part. I care about this community, and I know how important this job is. I know what vital role what a magistrate deals with in the community. It is really the first line. You know, someone's arrested, they bring them in front of the magistrate. Then their first preliminary hearing is in front of the magistrate. So it's really essential to keeping the community safe, but also balancing that with that individual's rights. You know, is this what this person does? Are they a danger to the community right now? Do they need to be incarcerated for a period of time?
Sure.
Right. That's a big consideration. How do I set that bail or bond to ensure that the community is safe for a period, to ensure that this person is separated from society, at least temporarily? Okay. Are they not a danger to society? Is this was what they did something that was okay, they're going to sober up in 24 hours, or
Or do they need to go to rehab
or
instead?
exactly, or something like that. So that's all things that, you know, one of the initial questions I think that the magistrate's going to deal with. So in those aspects, you know, I think the experience of the person in that position is essential. You don't have to be a lawyer to be a magistrate.
Really?
Guy Hayrel was a cop. He was a
I
police
didn't know
officer.
that.
He was
And
he
he's
was
no
a
been,
idea.
police
how long
officer.
has he been the magistrate?
He's been a magistrate for 18 years, I think.
18 years,
He's
okay.
served 3 terms, and it's a 6-year term.
Okay.
And before him, Judge Orndorff was also not an attorney. It's becoming more prevalent that attorneys are becoming magistrates, but
Okay.
historically, they were someone in the community that was trusted to make an initial decision, but they're not making ultimate decisions in some of the more serious cases.
Yeah.
You know, you're dealing with summaries and traffic tickets and civil disputes that are of lesser value. There, they can always appeal up to the Court of Common Pleas.
Okay.
So, you know, I care about the community. I understand the needs of the community, and my experience, I think, helps me in understanding the needs of the community and where, you know, being understanding of where's the line here. Also, you know, being respectful of and treating everybody with respect and dignity. Just because you're having a bad day, okay, you might be having a bad day.
Yep.
You're going to come before the magistrate. That does not necessarily define you.
I like
Right.
that. I like that.
So I get that. I see people in my line of work with being a public defender and being in family law. You are seeing people when they're not at their best.
Yes.
So I understand that this is not necessarily who they are. Now that may change as time goes on, but you know, for I'm not there to ultimately judge things. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
You can feel it. like that you're passionate about this.
Mhm,
Too.
yeah.
yeah.
That's really good.
I had no
Absolutely.
idea that you didn't have to be an attorney.
Yeah.
I
No,
just
I
assumed
know.
that that was part of it. And it makes me feel a little bit better, like knowing that more attorneys are coming into that, because it's easy for the ball to roll to the wrong side of the fence. Like,
Right.
you know what
Yeah.
I mean? If someone who is very like authoritarian, I guess you would say, gets into a position like that, where it could be a power struggle,
Mhm.
right?
Right,
That's
right,
scary.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
scary.
and if you're not being respectful of the individual's rights and understanding what those rights, because this is really first line defense of search and seizure, your Fourth Amendment constitutional rights are really coming into play here, because the magistrate is signing a search warrant. That's who's looking at a search warrant and saying, yes, there's enough, there's probable cause that the police need to search that premises. So there's a lot of rules and understanding what that means. How much do they need to show in that search warrant to say, yes, this is valid.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it could really jeopardize. Let's say a magistrate judge signs a search warrant and the search warrant doesn't have enough information on it, right?
Mhm.
A good defense attorney is going to come back at that first hearing or somewhere down the road and get that search warrant thrown out.
Mhm.
So the prosecution's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so so that really, it protects the individual's rights and it protects the prosecution. If the magistrate understands what the rules are for that search warrant and make sure that they're being upheld.
That's what. Yeah,
Yeah.
you protect both sides.
Right.
You'll be like Indiana County's face of justice. Can we make shirts? AnneMarie Everett, the face of justice. Community, that's
I
right.
don't know if they're on my face on anything.
Yeah.
I don't know that you want this on.
We're gonna get you like a little Batman hat so you can just see
Yeah.
it.
All right, thanks.
Wow.
Community service. Leave me alone.
Welcome.
All right, yeah. Community service, improve self-esteem. Volunteering may boost your self-esteem. We kind of talked about that. It increases your social skills too, as number 4. You can't really replace being able to communicate.
Mm-mm.
That's one of the top 5 things in any job, is just your ability to communicate with your coworkers. I know. Go ahead.
I just was gonna say, like, when I first got clean, I spoke at that whatever that
Oh, the
was,
walk this year. Nicole Wannet, she's coming on next week.
Yeah.
She's speaking this year.
Yeah. Then like there were other places. Well, I guess the first one was like the Rooster's Nest anniversary thing,
Mhm.
and all I did was sob the way through that whenever I was
Yeah.
talking. And then I did a couple other things, the walk, and then our podcast. And I've noticed the more that I do this, the easier it is for me
Yes.
to just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because now I know what to say, how to say it, how long to talk, what not to say, how to,
Yeah. If
yeah,
you,
I would never be the best at it because I don't think anybody is. But
if you'd have told me a year and a half ago that we were going to have a little show like this and we'd be interviewing someone running for judge, I'm like, nope, not doing that. Not doing that. And I'd
Not
be
at
so
all.
nervous. Someone texted me this morning and said, just remember, AnneMarie puts her pants on just like you do.
Oh my
Only-
gosh.
She said only they're nicer pants and they're not put on a credit card.
I think I know
I don't
who
know
said
about that.
that.
They probably are put on a credit card.
Wow.
Well, and that's the thing, I do not. I'm like someone that just works hard and
Yeah.
puts my nose. Like I do not, in any way or shape or form, think that I'm not running for this for any prestige
know,
or
I
any
know,
any
but it's
status.
like-
That is not at all what this is
Mhm.
about. So I'm kind of like taken aback that
That people
you
think?
that
Yes.
because that is just not me. That is just not how I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So-
it's funny that it sometimes feels like that. You get very professional, very professional people, and you sometimes, like, I grew up like blue collar. It's like, I know my sister-in-law is so impressed that my brother knows Joe Pittman. It's like, the senator?
Well, it's just kind of like a regular job. You just start out as staff, and then you go to a shift supervisor, and then you're a mentor, and then
Yeah.
a supervisor,
Yeah.
and you're
And it's
just
just
moving up
building
in your own
skills.
way.
Yeah.
And speaking of Joe Pittman, one of the nicest humans on the planet.
Yeah.
Joe Pittman is
Yeah.
such a great guy. He's always so nice, and I only have great things to say about him too. He's
Good.
a down to earth person, and he's
Mhm.
easy to talk to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he does care about our community. I dealt with him at work, and he'll call anytime anyone calls or complains about anything in the community. He reaches out immediately, and I think that's
Mhm.
really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Number 3 on this is it helps you meet new friends. We kind of talked about that. 2, it provides a sense of community. And number 1, and I think this is kind of what we're all talking about, like rebranding ourselves and making different people out of us at like 35 and older is it provides you with a sense of purpose.
That's huge for me.
Yeah, I never knew what I wanted to do. Like my mom always said, she's like, you don't really care about a whole lot, and I was like, it's not that I don't, I just don't know what to care about. I never knew, and I never found it, and I knew like sales was kind of a stepping stone to get to where I want to do. And now, like, I think that's what I want to do. Is I just want to do community service. I want to kind of be like a leader that helps people go in different directions. And my number one thing in the world, and I talk about this almost every week, is environment. I want the environment to be good. It's a good. It's a foundation. Safe is a it's kind of corny saying safe, but it needs to be safe. Whether it's,
He hates that word. He says
physically-
safe. He's like, I
do.
hate it.
People always say like,
But
come on
men
here.
say it,
It's a safe space. It's not a safe space. Get out of here. I don't know, but I
Welcoming. You want it,
It is.
somewhere where
I just-
everyone feels welcome.
just feel comfortable.
Feel
Like
comfortable.
I feel awkward in almost every room I walk into for the first few minutes.
It's 'cause
And
you look that way.
I look at it. It's probably my hair.
Mhm.
But I do, and I think when you have a sense of purpose, when you have a purpose to be in a room, it takes away some of that.
But that's also changing for you. I've noticed it. Like when you walk into the gym, oh my gosh, the first like month you come in, your eyes were like this big, and you're walking in and you're looking at everyone, and now you come in and you're like, hey, and you say hello to everybody. How's it going? And people, when you're not there, people ask for you and ask where everyone's at. It feels comfortable. It's to the point now where sometimes I'm like, all right, guys, TMI, we're too comfortable. But that environment is important.
Appreciate you telling me that I looked awkward for like a month. Now I have something else. Now every time I
No,
start
you
something
weren't.
new,
But
I
I'm
know.
saying you don't now. You don't
know.
anymore.
That's what she was leading up to. You don't
Yeah.
anymore.
And it builds confidence.
It
Like
really does.
Absolutely, yeah.
and
Yeah.
doing more of the community service stuff, it does. Like one of the things in the article I was looking at is building confidence, because your ability to help others kind of also makes you feel like, hey, I kind of know what I'm doing here. I
And
got
it's
my
nice
stuff
to,
together.
It's nice to know that you're missed.
Mhm.
Like people want you to be around.
It's
Mhm.
it's nice to know that you have an effect on people too.
Yes.
Yeah, that it really is. That was pretty nice of you to say. I would never usually thank you, but thank you.
You're welcome.
AnneMarie, how can we find you on?
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm on Facebook, AnneMarie Everett for District Judge on Facebook. I have a website. It's voteeverett.com.
Okay.
Nice.
So those are the two places you can kind of see a little bit more about me.
All right. Do we do? Is there more campaigning? I know that you have. Do you have a petition?
So petitions are in and signed.
Alright.
Next is the primary, which is May 16th.
Okay.
And that is where, there's 3 candidates and we're all cross-filed. So everybody's showing up on both your Republican and Democrat.
That was my next question.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be clear, the district is, so there's four magistrates in Indiana County. We each have specific boundary districts.
Okay.
The district I'm running for contains Indiana Borough, the entirety of Indiana Borough, and wards 4, 5, 6 of White Township.
Mm-hmm.
So if you vote at Summit Church or Chevy Chase Center,
Okay.
you'll see me on your ballot. If you vote in the borough, you'll see me on the ballot. If you're not in those places, you're not going to see me on the ballot. But you're going to see all 3 candidates on whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat.
Good.
Okay.
Good. Anything we can help with moving forward?
Doing stuff like this
Cool.
and put my name out and if you want to sign, you can message me on Facebook or on my website and I'll get a sign out.
Good.
But I appreciate you guys having me on here.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
great.
you
It's
know.
great.
Talking with you guys and I really think that what you're doing here is great and in itself is a community service, just talking about these things and normalizing some like walking in a room and having anxiety. That happens to me. So
It happens
it
everywhere.
happens to everybody.
Yeah.
So
You are
like
not alone.
normalizing that and I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one that's
Yes.
walking into a room.
And
feeling
it's very
nervous.
comforting to find out like someone else is awkward too, just because like I'm all right, so I'm not abnormal, not weird.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
it's taken a long time to get to this point. So
Right.
just glad to have you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, no,
absolutely.
thank you guys for having me.
Sure.
All right. Do you guys ladies have any closing words, anything?
No.
All right, I don't think I have anything even written down. All right, that's it. Next week we're gonna have Nicole Wannet from the Indiana County Recovery Center. Her and Kim Dodds, who owns the Recovery Center, they're gonna be on. Trista won't be here, so it'll be.
I'll be exercising. Sorry, guys.
So you have Alesia, myself, and those 2 ladies.
Yes.
But as always, we appreciate you and love you guys.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Go outside.